Those are usually the two standouts, right? We saw it earlier in the day. I believe it was in game 1 of the V5 series where that is your first rotation. And it's on the other side to pivot into what they want. Of course, with things like Ahri open, it can change depending on like what your team wants to value in terms of like maybe more early game lane domination and early game pick potential. And Clid, of course, typically being that more early game oriented skirmisher coming in. And there it is, the Ahri instead of the Rise.
Okay, well, we get something a little bit more aggressive from Care. Remember, the new mid laner coming into the team. It ain't gory. They're relying here on the person brought up from the LDL.
It's kind of interesting, too, considering that I feel like Beichuan and Gory had better synergy than, like, we saw Beichuan with, Clid with Gory.
Yeah, true.
And now I feel like Clid and Care work better than the other way. So FPX kind of finding their duos that do work for them. Now for OMG, wanting to get cold on something aggressive with some engage. Typically here is where you would see, maybe a jungle pick come out as well. We do still have the Hecarim left open. Aki as well, liking a lot more of these early game skirmishing picks coming out. So things like the Xin Zhao, things like the Lee Sin still on the board.
You talked about things like the Talon earlier in the split as well. Comparing junglers is always fun with the champion pool here. Something we can get into more about because for now, it looks like OMG are pivoting away, going towards a strong mid laner. Instead of getting Creme on the LeBlanc, it is the Vex here with a lot of dashes coming out of Care.
And interestingly enough, it's not a pick you'd associate with Creme, right? Not somebody who's gone to a heavy amount, has preferred to either just stick it tried and true with things like the Victor and the Orianna, or has been the LeBlancs, the Akalis, these sorts of picks. And let's be real, we have not seen OMG a whole lot on 12.4 because of their games getting delayed. So this is a team that has a lot of time to figure out their identity. Typically, it has been playing more towards the top side as the split's gone on. And FPX, though, and keep it tried and true, we know how FPX play. For FPX, it is all about the bottom lane. It's all about setting up LWX and Hung. Typically, you see Clid playing a lot with them, having a lot higher jungle proximity to that bot lane. And it's all about how Care can enable that. And xiaolaohu typically just left on an island.
And we've seen a lot of the Alistar into the Nautilus today as well, and how well it can go when Nautilus goes in. So Hung picking up a matchup here in the 2v2. Feels like for FPX, they can work a lot around. Now, then we go into the second ban phase. We don't have solo laners up in the top side yet. We don't have junglers for each team as well. And already we're getting some of these comforts banned away.
Yeah, one thing that also jumps out to me with xiaolaohu being on the Rift would be something like a Jayce.
Yeah.
That's something where, even thinking back to FPX last year where he came in and subbed in on the roster, right? That was his standout moment. That was his clip popping off on the Jayce. I believe he was getting a triple kill. So it wouldn't be too surprised to see OMG take that one away. On the opposite side for Shanji, Shanji's had a lot more of a, I'd say, diverse champion pool coming into the top side. The fact that they took away Gwen themselves and now Graves off the table. The only real things coming to mind is, again, Gnar blind pick, I feel like going to be very massive in, going forward. But beyond that, Shanji has been Gragas. He's been the full AP Malphite with Rocket Belt into Zanya's and Banshees. He's been the Rumble player. So for OMG, I'm kind of curious to see how they round it out. But for FPX, my guess would be maybe Jayce on 4. And then it could also open up OMG just to go to that standard top lane pick of something like an R. Okay,
well, simple does it. Let's see if they ban it away, though, for OMG. It's going to be the Jax instead, so remember things like the Camille up as well?
Yeah.
Lyric, I'm not sure if that's worth mentioning.
Two champions that do go very well into it, right? Both the and Jax, so very good highlight coming out of that one. FPX, so instead of maybe taking away a higher priority top laner, with 4 top laners just banned, instead wanting to save for that counter pick with xiaolaohu. And I feel like a lot of it does go back to what we were saying about him being left on an island, having to play by himself, wanting to get him a good matchup so he doesn't just fall behind, get dove on repeat. And for FPX, their comp so far, it goes in. The Alistar, the Hecarim, the Ahri, you all go forward to find your targets, but OMG kind of building a similar theme here with the Vex, but also having more options in terms of having that Jinx top side as well.
And
with
the Xin Zhao, which is the last jungler kind of left open that we associate with the S tier, associate with Hecarim, we have kind of finishing off the theme. Now, thematically, this would also add a bit of extra dive and a Shanji comfort. Nice to see again.
Highlighting that this is one of the things that once you get a lot of these top laners off the table, Shanji has gone more towards comfort rather than necessarily playing what is strong in the meta. I feel like Gwen really being Gwen and Graves being his go-to meta top laners, and beyond that, it's a little bit shaky. But OMG, very strong 5v5. They have a ton of AoE damage coming through. This was one of their strengths last year, was the coordination that they have in team fights. We're going to see if they can hold it through once again. On the opposite side, this is xiaolaohu's favorite champion.
It is.
He loves picking this one up. You have some pressure coming out with some of the range that you're being able to put up. Rumble also being very cooldown reliant in terms of playing with that flame spitter. So for FPX, I think you have, kind of some more varied ways of playing the game in terms of side lanes there with the Ahri and Jayce. You have some range on your side as well. You have some disengage with the Alistar. So for OMG, I really feel like there aren't any options. It is fight. It is go in.
Yep.
It is look to set up the Rumble and his big AoE and able to follow through and be the one dishing out the damage as Creme tries to get on the back line with the Vex.
It's going to be interesting, though, because, again, when we have similar identities, but how they veer off in different ways. It's always fun to watch comps through the early laning phase, especially since, we talked about OMG playing towards topside. Shanji on this Rumble against a Jayce matchup are going to be interesting when we get to that 6 point when we see the Jayce trying to kite back. I know I'm going very in-depth here, but I know you play a lot of Rumble.
Yeah, this is also a matchup that's pretty interesting. I do feel like Jayce has a lot of tools to outplay in terms of, Rumble wanting to look for all-ins to get the Flame Spitter damage down before backing off and kind of playing around your cooldowns. To where Jayce does have the knockback in his hammer form, so can knock you back, can then cut you out, when he does, get the Accelerated Shock Blast and stuff like that off.
Yep.
So it's going to be very interesting. Once you have the ultimate at level 6 is when there is some kill pressure there if your jungle wants to play around you, but it also could hurt you to waste that Equalizer on just trying to kill your lane opponent rather than bringing that into a team fight.
Oh, that's true. Around the early skirmishes as well, Herald's so important. We'll see for OMG, though, with the Rumble picked up on the top side. It's a comfort for Shanji. On FPX's side, again, they've decided to stick with care, and it was an early Ahri pick. It was a jungle Hecarim as well, picked up as well. A sense of a strong 2v2 again.
I feel like early in the game, you shouldn't expect to see much. And if it is going to be Clid putting pressure towards mid, especially a one-off gank, you don't have too much in terms of delivering in early game skirmishes, especially compared to the Xin Zhao, who, can get a lot of damage off, is very happy just trading autos in those skirmishes. So for the side of FPX, I think it's going to be a lot more about moving your parts around the map, transferring pressure from lane to lane, stacking with numbers advantages, and then just trying to run the opposing side down, splitting OMG up to where OMG want to make the map small. They want to bring FPX together. They want to get the big damage out.
I mean, off the bat, that's a nice little narrative to bring on in. Welcome to OMG FPX. Our makeup games of the LPL, this is kind of what it's all about. OMG, if they win this series, they are into playoffs for the final spot in back-to-back splits. If FPX win, however, they are not. They need to rely on OMG losing to either LNG or RNG. And a lot of fans out there might be like, oh, well, it may as well be in. But crazier things have happened. For OMG, it's more certain. And I think the biggest thing for me is the story coming into this was that FPX were a team that have always made playoffs in recent history. It's only since their inception in 2018 spring where they didn't make playoffs at all. But every other split since then, this team has been the old reliable.
Yeah, we think of the roster, right? The LWS and Chris being there. People like Pepper, Shinji joining, Alex coming on in summer from the LMS, cool on the roster. So that was the only FPX lineup that didn't make playoffs since then. They always have. And even kind of bringing that into this split, both these teams and their playoff implications. I feel like this split, these teams had very similar trajectories. Both came in very strong, very hyped. I feel like they both had pretty one-dimensional play styles in terms of for OMG, it was all about Aki and Creme setting up around that bottom side, trying to get Abel and Cold ahead, going into teamfight strong and playing through these 5v5s, but it really was just the Creme show. And for FPX, it was all about bot lane. Lwx and Hung finding advantages. Hung, this guy who is afraid of absolutely nothing, will put himself in harm's way every game, and then just snowballing through having your bot lane so ahead, they were just winning out through these early games.
I mean, if you're a Hung fan here, you need to see this game play out. It's everything for FPX. Good trading in the mid lane, actually, from Creme. Not often have we seen Vexes really take over the 1v1, but a nice little start here from the OMG mid lane.
I feel like Vex, in terms of laning, and a lot of her lane matchups are not impossible unless you're facing really low range champions, things like the Victor obviously doing quite well into you, because you have that E there to be able to not only hit minions but try and set up for the fear onto the Ahri. Q, a very good trading tool, and then against other assassins, having the W, which is so much if they're looking for the all into you, not only trying to get that damage down, also giving yourself the HP on top of the passive, since Ahri does have the dashes with her ultimate. So I really like the pick coming out from Creme and seeing what he's able to do with it. Sets him up to be a playmaker as well if he can find his ults onto Lwx to be able to take him down. Hopefully Lwx doesn't get accelerated to where he can just red-white blow him up.
Yeah, Shanji's actually chasing xiaolaohu. This is super deep. He's going to overheat, however, so the natural harpoons stop. And while we're talking about individual lane matchups, let's pull it out a little bit. Let's come back to what we talked about for compositionally, right? And start with the laning phase, because Shanji has Ignite. OMG play towards top side. We did kind of talk about Aki trying to make something happen in the top lane.
And this is what we saw when they played against Rarana before. It was enabling Shanji up in top side. Both junglers making their way up here. Look at the mini-map. Aki is coming up here now. Will be a bit of a 2v2 for FPX. I mean, it could be rough because OMG definitely having some more early skirmishing power, more burst coming out with the Rumble and with the Xin Zhao.
They do. It's going to be about who gets there first. Klid is a level up, though. Worth mentioning here is Aki
he
spotted
misses.
out, and there's the mana. Yeah, he misses. Wind becomes lightning. xiaolaohu getting low, but doesn't have to burn the flash. And
so you can TP in the Jayce here,
you
keep Klid
can.
here, and still look for the play because they don't know Klid's here. They have no idea. You know, if Klid was here, they would think maybe poke his head out before. They can look for this.
Oh, and Aki just back. Aki just back. The minion wave pushing up. Shanji's being patient, and he's sticking around. Klid with the huge brain play. Ghost pulled out. And as Shanji might have to burn the flash, he's going to decide whether it's worth it. He tries with the Ignite, but xiaolaohu flashes back, buys the space, and first blood in a very intelligent topside gang.
I'm actually really surprised that Shanji burned the flash and tried to think he can get the kill off.
True.
Really nowhere close to the damage. Like, sure, in hindsight, it looks like you got close, but with how low Shanji is, I don't think there's any reality where you would have been able to find the kill. Now you just make it easier for Klid to find the repeat gank. Because one of the reasons why I feel like Rumble died out in top lane and started making his headway into mid is because, I mean, it is so hard playing that long lane as Rumble as an immobile champion who can just be so easily punished for overextending. And in a lot of Rumble's winning trade patterns, you want to push because you're using the Flame Spitter, you're pushing that wave aggressively, and you're putting the enemy top laner down. So this could open up Shanji to just be bullied in the top lane matchup.
Depends, though, because xiaolaohu has actually made a bit of a mistake backing. He has no flash. Electro Harpoon for the slow. Flame Spitter again. He burns him down. xiaolaohu might have found the opening with his jungler, but Shanji hits it right back.
And like you said, xiaolaohu overstaying a bit, trying to get the wave in, was able to get the wave in, but even just the recall position not accounting for Shanji. Spotting that one out, did have the ward and walking forward aggressively. So nice by him to be able to find that one back. Both top laners as well, right? Both of them immobile, both of them easy to take down if you're able to find those opportunities. Sure, both have ways to enhance their movement speed to be able to get away, but if you are the one pushing away, you will just be too far forward. As OMG now trying to look towards mid. I gotta say, it's pretty interesting for FPX that they have been the ones also playing to this top side. When we hit on, like, FPX have been a team that, no matter the draft, no matter their matchups on the map, have just put everything into getting Lwx and Hung ahead in this bottom lane.
Because it was reliable at the start of the split. That's how FPX found their wins, and quite easily, I'd say, as well. Lwx and Hung ended up dominating the laning phases, and, you know, we had coach like Kegel coming on, finding big fans of Hung, but also just other people coming through, new fans, really investing in Lwx and Hung.
You wrote the letter about it.
I did. I wrote it to Mum. Unfortunately, I never sent it, though, because FPX started losing, and I was a bit worried about how I'd get judged in the family, you know? My family are IG fans. Well, or were IG fans. I'm sorry, they went with the shy.
Okay, we get to see what happened here in the bottom right-hand corner. As just got spotted out, so knew that that was coming through. And now for the top side, xiaolaohu's wave is pushing into Shanji, so puts it up for a gank coming out from Aki. So you see him right now pathing up towards that top side because that is where his camps are spawning. So xiaolaohu gonna have to be careful. It looks like he's getting a bit of his own vision down now to try to account for that. No, actually no ward available. It's just kind of hovering in a river to spot out if Aki would be here. And for the side of FPX, I mean, you do have some like decent ways of playing the game in the late game with the damage you have out, but again, just Jinx on the opposite side always feels like the thing that tips the scale in one way in terms of how later fights will go.
Again, 12.4 folks if you're tuning in. For sense of fairness, I do like that we're playing this on the patch to finish off the season. Would have been crazy if you're playing this on 12.5B, but again, a great decision. While decision making is big here for FPX too. Yeah,
this is what we're talking about, right? Playing towards this bottom side, trying to set up the dive commit, but Creme is reading this well. He knows that Care moved from the mid lane. Now with the ward coming out, they just know.
Here's Shadow Surge too. He can get under the turret immediately. It's going to pop through. It misses, I believe. Creme won't get the ulti through. Personal space as well. FPX make it an easy dive. No one dies. That's just so unfortunate.
Yeah, like you said, Creme not able to find the Shadow Surge onto a key target. Actually not finding it on a target at all. And then Aki going up to his top side to play with those camps. Shanji's been holding this freeze for quite a while. I think OMG were looking to make this play on top side. xiaolaohu didn't give an angle, so for OMG instead they have to rotate bot, try and answer the play. They don't have enough time for Aki to get there, and the members of FPX light it up beautifully. There's the advantage that you want to see on FPX, on Lwx specifically, if you're an FPX fan.
I mean, again, 20 CS lead. He pushed in for turret plating, 160 gold there. Replay time is, it's hard to not look at Creme, but at least the dive was smooth.
Yeah, Hung sets it up, goes in, and again, Shadow Surge not able to hit on anyone. You're winning on both sides of the fight with Care and Klid able to get damage on one hand. Hung taking the turret and finding the headbutt pulverizer on the opposite side for Lwx to find the Moonlight Vigil and get the kill. So really nice setup coming out from them. Already getting that bot lane ahead for the side of OMG now. Probably going to start playing towards his top side with the fact that Shanji has been able to hold pressure, start playing for this Rift Herald. Surprisingly, neither bot lane rotating up just yet. Looks like both supports might start heading that way now.
But it comes back to the ult usage as well you talked about. You know, Shanji with the ulti playing around objectives. That adds so much pressure. And for OMG, I guess as well, just the fact that that's available means that FPX aren't even going to try. So first Herald of the game, we got there and English is hard. Maybe it's because I'm in a different country.
I was going to say also, you know, we got to be real. This small room, you know, props to Sheen for giving us a place to cast.
Shout out to Sheen, who's in the other room.
He is.
What a legend.
You know, Sheen making dreams come true is OMG now.
I know what I want for Christmas next year. Or this year, actually.
OMG, though, looking for a bit of a dive on top side.
But look what's
is
happening
there. Yeah. Lwx is getting all this free time with tower. The members of OMG are moving down. Lwx does have flash up and looks like he will respect in time to get away.
But I guess the response play isn't going to be as big as that. So for Lwx, hey, the gold moves to 3,000 because he just had some fun in the sun. And for Klid, as he walks around, Shanji has to be threatened. And I mean, this early game from FPX is great. I want to come back while there's a bit of a lull in the action before the Herald gets placed down. Talk a little bit more about what makes this FPX comp tick, because you talked a lot about dive throughout both, about range. Why do I never get to ask this question of you? Why do they always choose to fight when I'm asking about comp? There's the equalizer, but unfortunately, it won't do too much. The flash from Shanji, though, does a bit more. Beaten back, though, as Klid ends up getting the fear. Lwx, FPX just can't really put a foot wrong at the moment.
No, and, you know, going back to what you were going to ask about comps, I actually feel like, you know, we saw how it was rounding out in the first phase. But with how it ended up with OMG side specifically, it's going to be really hard for FPX to be the aggressor, the ones running in, because you know OMG are going to want to come into you, right?
True.
They're the ones that have the Vex, they have the Nautilus, they have the Xin Zhao as well. Rumble, I mean, I guess you could try and, like, wait for them to come in and drop your equalizer, but for the side of FPX, I expect a lot of play through sides, a lot of picks trying to come off with the Ahri specifically. You can keep trying to leave xiaolaohu on his island later on once towers do go down. Play with your Ahri in the side lane as Klid. Try and find picks onto Creme or Shanji, and then break open with numbers advantage that way. OMG do still have the range of Jinx, but xiaolaohu pretty much counteracts that with the accelerated shock blast that he's able to throw out. And you have the disengage coming out from Hung as well.
True. I mean, or the counter, like the counter engage for Hung too is a big thing there. So
I think the FPX definitely have like different ways it could play out depending on who OMG gets their gold on, who is accelerating, how you play out, right? If FPX gets xiaolaohu ahead, then that side lane option's strong. But if Lwx gets all the gold, if Abel's set behind, then you know in your 5v5 you're solid.
I mean, even this is pick potential we talked about alongside Klid. Creme having to flush away, Care close, and Klid no ulti there, but the burn! What? That was a big tick.
Yeah, able to come out from the side of FPX. And as I say Abel, I need to realize it's going to be very hard to not say that too much with OMG on the Rift. OMG, though, looking down towards Abel to give him this Rift Herald. The are here.
And Klid's almost got his ulti available. Aki in a bad position. The knock-up coming through from Hung. It's beautiful. FPX bottom lane in a great position, but Abel finally getting a reset in this game. It is a 1-for-1 trade turning into a 2-for-1 in FPX favor, and Klid's about to get ulti. It's flash from Hung. It's the fear. Klid is here to play, and he ain't going home until he gets the playoffs back at his first split.
FPX roaming their mid-jungle down to this bottom side after making that beautiful play in mid. Nice transfer pressure. OMG not respecting that play is possible. FPX now not only pick up all the kills, going to pivot this one into a dragon. xiaolaohu, who's still doing solid, holding his own in the top side with his Hex Drinker now bot. And for FPX, I mean, 4K gold lead at 12 minutes.
And it comes off the back of Klid. I mean, 5-0-2, almost 100% kill participation. These plays are getting better and better, and it's off the back of their jungler.
Yeah, Klid, just, you know, feeling so much more comfortable. I mean, this one, I feel like there's not too much to say, right? The setup was there from the kill they got in mid. FPX not really respecting. You can see pings came out very late into when the roam had come down, and it sets up for Abel Cold to go down. So, with its communication, I feel like it also Abel, Cold, and Aki should expect that play to be able to come through for the side of FPX. But going back to Klid, I mean, just now working with Care. I feel like we've seen him a lot more comfortable than when Gory was on the roster, which is quite surprising, since that would be where you can communicate more comfortably. But Care, I think, being a bit more solid in terms of how he is in lane and like being able to play with the team, maybe because of the no communication issues with the rest of the squad, is what's able to open up for Care to, you know, make Klid, you know, perform better.
And people kind of forget that Klid actually started in the LPL. So people always come over and go like, oh, well, the Korean jungler, he's going to have communication issues. It's like, He worked with JDG. He's worked on the LPL. That's where he kind of grew up, I'd say, in his competitive environment. He may have gone over to SKT, but this is when he was born. This is where he was born and bred.
One thing I gotta say, right, is that especially if you ever like watch LPL like content come from teams, because you know certain teams do have like YouTube videos,
doing a lot more recently,
doing a ton. Is LPL teams are very good about like having their foreign players like take consistent lessons to get their language down pretty quickly. So the fact that Klid's been here before, I think sets him up quite well, and now a huge force to be reckoned with. Heck, the fact that he's so big, right? He's this impenetrable front line. We were talking about how FPX can kind of pivot depending on where they're strong. I think they should really just be fine running at the composition of OMG to find advantages.
This is where they're weak, actually. xiaolaohu getting dove here, and it's a quick little auto. Shanji not going to die. Nicely done. Just quickly to interrupt your point, at least OMG finding something back here in this game, but they do lose a turret for it. And for OMG, I mean, the trade not going to be worth it for now.
No, not going to be able to do anything else. He's not going to be able to find this.
I mean, he's going to run it down onto Shanji. He wants him. The horse is angry. The ulti comes through, and actually,
is it a 1v2?
Aki with the Crescent Guard needs to come through now. He gets the knockup, but Klid is the chieftain in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Aki not feeling too pressured, right? Had the Crescent Guard up, even at the end proccing the Conquer, so having more damage in the duel and having the healing coming through. It's one of the reasons we highlighted in terms of like the early game skirmishing. Aki would feel way more comfortable going through with that one. That's why in a lot of games we've seen recently, teams have kind of started to stray away from the Hecarim a little bit because we've seen teams punish it quite well in the early game. Heck, we saw it in the last series come up from xiaolaohu's Graves, just putting Karsa behind, finding those early invades with the solo kills. But sadly for Aki, not able to find it this time around. A lot of it coming through Shanji, holding the freeze up in top side. Creme found early pressure, but not too much after the initial levels to where Klid just started hovering around all of his lanes. Yeah. So not able to ever find an opportunity to set Klid behind and start, you know, finding your own advantage.
It's been like a wave of momentum coming through. Like Klid started on the top side. That very patient gank, I think, paid off dividends for FPX. He waited in that brush for about a minute, and it was the smart play with the TP that even though xiaolaohu died in the solo kill afterwards, still put a lot of pressure on OMG towards his top side.
And started giving him gold, right? Because he was the one who picked up that kill. So him being massively far ahead, already having the ability haste boots, already having the turbo chem tank available as well to get that movement speed, to get the big damage first once that gets all stacked up. Now it looks like we're going to have a bit of a fight. Shanji has the equalizer available.
And everyone's moving up in river from FPX. Care is level 11 with ulti available. Dredgeline connects, but OMG are disconnected. The Shadow Surge might fly, though, onto xiaolaohu. He's bought the space. It's only going to be a one-man fear. They save him, but with the equalizer through, is that enough? Aki onto the back line on top of xiaolaohu. He gets him, but Care with 3 Spirit Rushes. Lwx with the ulti on the backside. It's a messy one, but the onslaught from Big Daddy Klid brings it all back. Lwx a target for Aki, which is great. And OMG have found something in this fight, but it ain't going to be enough to get the Herald because Klid still reigns.
Yeah, and for OMG, I feel like that's not the kind of fight you want. You kind of need this 3-man formation, even 4-man formation, kind of coming through from Aki, Cold, Shanji, and Abel. Creme, the one trying to look for backline access, while you're buying space for Abel to hit frontline. That's not what happened. The skirmish broke off into multiple fronts. That is definitely where FPX thrive, and FPX able to get the Rift Herald off of that one. And we'll go straight into the replay with this. Cold finds the hook. But again, the members of OMG are split. Look where Shanji's in the fight right now. Jinx not in as well, throwing out the rocket. But we see the engage come through from the Alistar, open up for Care to find a pick of his own. This is where things start to go a little bit sideways. Aki going one way, not finding space to cover for his AD carry, which allows for Hung to once again find another great engage for Care to get into the thick of things and break this apart. These are not the type of skirmishes that OMG need.
They're playing amazingly together. Klid, Hung, a great duo. Now, Lyric, the good thing about being together is when it gets to 144p on our broadcast, we both don't know what's going on. So we just both get to hope, maybe it'll get better. I'm very proud of you for analyzing that fight when you were looking at about 10 pixels. But as I go closer to the screen, guys, this is me going.
Hey, it's better now. We're
480. Okay.
It is one of the things about that is, I guess, better about being apart is that maybe only one of our internets.
No. If we suffer, we both suffer, dude.
I agree. That is the mentality.
Part of the crew, part of the ship, is quoted by who did that? Davy Jones? No. Part of the crew, part of the ship.
Jack Sparrow.
Oh well, one of them. You know, someone from the movie. Anyway.
Captain Crunch Captain.
Yeah. Okay. Hey. Baron's up in 2 minutes. I don't care about that. As I bring us back to the game, it's just important to know. I thought, there's a timer. Let's just call it out. It's a 6K gold lead. That's something I care about. Klid still at 12 out of 13 kill participation. I have been pretty rough on Clid. I feel like I've been very real to fans about how Clid's been performing in the LPL. This is such a great game to talk about the experience of this man, and maybe xiaolaohu's going to divert my attention. Everfrost then, whoopsie daisy, he's just walked into enemies. OMG, still very deep in the enemy jungle. I guess xiaolaohu wasn't expecting that.
No, I think xiaolaohu, you know, hoping to take, knowing that they're top side because of how far forward Shanji's playing and knowing that his members are on the opposite side, and thinking, hey, I want to take away the scrum before they fully invade my jungle to at least deny them something. But yeah, they'd already gotten their position. They're able to find that pick, and at least OMG, once again, able to answer with some gold on the opposing side. So kind of looking at FPX, who were able to get some deep vision in OMG's jungle, which is very massive, able to take away camps of their own and at least deny a little bit. Gold lead still sitting at that 5K mark. And for FPX, I mean, I feel like FPX are that team that are one of our more typical kind of wait for neutrals to come up to be able to find those skirmishes. So I wouldn't expect too much more to come through unless OMG give an opening, which, hell, OMG, decently aggressive team themselves. So
they are, and there is always an opening against FPX that we've talked about throughout the split. And part of the reason I feel like FPX is 7 and 8 and are in a dangerous point where this series doesn't exactly lock in playoffs, but it is necessary for them not to be knocked out completely, is the fact that their Baron takes are always interesting. Their Barons are the most fun out of any team in the LPL.
I do feel like FPX have shied away from it a bit.
They have, because they've learned.
Early in the split, they were flipping Baron every single game.
Yes, they were.
Now, not as much. Heck, even now, right? If they want to accelerate the game and they want to start a Baron and try and force a turn, at least they have the tools for it. They have the Alistar, they have the Hecarim. The thing, though, is setting yourself up to turn and not setting yourself up for the 50-50 to come through. They've already lost their vision control on the bottom half of the map because now they're playing to allow xiaolaohu to free hit this turret on bottom side. So not going to be able to find those picks around top side like we were just hitting on, but at least able to get this wave in.
And give some resources to the 0-4 Jayce, further to your point. Clid was there and one of the most threatening members of FPX. Ahri matching for now. Baron vision kind of maintained, but it is spread out by OMG a bit, so there's nothing going unawry, especially with both junglers down at the bottom lane anyway. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit more about what OMG's options are here and what can kind of come through, because we talked a lot about the 5v5s, or rather the skirmishes, the ultis that come through, how important it is. Oh my god, Clid just ran down Abel. There's a flash. And coming back to what happens in front of these next couple of neutrals and what execution means.
Yeah, I feel like for OMG, you really don't have any other options. I feel like your comp is so heavily indexed to find those 5v5s. Like, sure, you can set up for those picks on like cross maps like we just saw from OMG, but that's not really like a game-changing win con in terms of being able to open up the map in a big way. But again, I feel like a lot of it comes down to that formation. Find space for Abel with Cold and Ahri. A big equalizer as Hung goes in.
Oh, and he gets a 2-man knockup. That's cleared for the follow-through. But the equalizer, defensively, is it enough? Ahri survives with the Crescent Guard. The fear from Creme, beautiful. But Shanji's ult down. The Crescent Guard just used as well. FPX find a pick at the dive was gorgeous.
And I feel like another sad thing for OMG in that exchange is look at summoners for FPX. They had to blow no flashes. They still have everything.
Ghost.
They only utilized ultimates and the ghost coming through to where OMG not only give over kills, not only give over the turret, having to blow 2 flashes of their own, which only makes the engages coming from FPX even easier.
Yep. Replay time. We'll have a look again because this was a clean setup, a quick 2-man pick.
Yeah, they push in topside, roam the Ahri over, bring Jayce, and Hung finds the engage. Instantly pivot with Clid able to come through. The damage to follow up from Aphelios the whole time, and they very quickly get out before OMG can find the re-engage. Because OMG setup, you kind of need everyone there the whole time to be able to take these fights. You need people standing in the equalizer. You need able to have the ability to free hit. I was going to say able to, but...
Yeah. It's okay, it happened. It's happened to me many times. Creme as well, getting a fear with the equalizer too, like making it a, I don't know what you call it, not a fearsome hot pot. That already belongs to Jarvan and Rumble as we get engaged. Teleport on the backside, but FPX with confident. Hung blowing up the damage, but Lwx running in melee range. Equalizer great, especially now that Hung's down, but Everfrost usage from Care. He spirit rushes over. He takes a quick pick, and he makes it equal himself. Forget the equalizer from Rumble. The equalizer from Care was much better.
Yeah, Care coming out huge. And now this just opens up Soul Point for the side of FPX. Ooh, OMG not even going to look to contest this, losing your mid laner and talking about how the synergy of ultimates is so important. I feel like maybe we could call Creme finding a Shadow Surge into 5 people and like hitting a fear into the equalizer. The Raz Habanero. Maybe you saw that the other day.
I did.
Yeah.
The Raz Habanero. Okay. Well, a shout out to an ex-LPL caster. Let's look again.
Now we're going to see here, Ahri being the one to start the exchange opens up for Hung to find a very easy setup. and then Equalizer comes out to be able to zone them off. But guess what? Care doesn't care about your Equalizer. He's able to dash over the wall, find the pick potential anyway, and be able to get out scot-free. You still did lose one member, but the fact that FPX can get away with the objective is the big win in their book.
I mean, the new mid laner, 305, still with great kill participation. Horizon Focus has been picked up before Creme gets the second item. Colt starts to engage in the jungle. It's on Hung and Clit, who have been carrying this game. A good knock-up, a good fear. Hung will die without his ulti. And now for OMG in front of the Baron. That pick, how much does it mean?
Looks like OMG not having the confidence to go for this one. For FPX, right, being on a red side, being able to just go over the wall. xiaolaohu who throw out the accelerated shot flash, chunk them out. They're not a very tanky team in any regard to be able to go for this. And now, at least it buys OMG some time and some space to be able to pick up some gold, put a bit of damage on this mid lane turret, to try to pull members in to find engagement. Now that Shanji's grouped up as well, and once again has that ultimate.
But Creme's here on top of xiaolaohu for the wing. Is he going to pull off the engage? I mean, that Shadow Surge is there, and we want to see the Raz habanero, and we get a spicy one. Raz, you better be watching, because OMG inspired by your little duo. The Shadow Surge flies through and unfortunately misses, but Creme dies down with it. A 1-for-2 in favor of OMG, and when it's playoff time, when it's that last seed remaining, OMG are going down fighting.
You know, it was kind of memeing when I thought the setup would actually be Creme going in, finding a massive fear, and then following through with the equalizer. But they do it! They do it! It works! They get the kills. One person does go down, but still any gold you can find when you're the team 5k gold behind is massive. We're going to see here Creme coming from behind, waiting for his moment, flashes in with the personal space, gets the fear instantly into the equalizer, and it looks like Creme, taking turret this whole time, just ends up going down, not feeling comfortable wrapping around from the opposite side because xiaolaohu is there. Will probably get brought down regardless, so for OMG still coming out ahead is a big win.
I mean, a big win considering that OMG were just falling further and further behind. This early game has been dictated by Clit, has been dictated by Care. It's been so successful from FPX, but OMG finally pulling off one of these team fighting combos allows them to get closer towards opening up mid. They only have one turret, but it is about the objectives on the board. Where OMG, if they find another pick, as xiaolaohu just takes down Creme in a solo kill, it doesn't matter about my point. Throw it out the window. xiaolaohu's a happy man.
Yeah, xiaolaohu. I have no idea how he just got that one. Creme coming off base, full HP, has everything available, still goes down. Pretty questionable.
Hello. Okay, well, Shanji versus xiaolaohu in the 1v1. The explosion! Oh my god, xiaolaohu more than laughing. Destroy Shanji. Go back to base, kid.
That was so great to see, but OMG still trying to contest.
Hung has ulti, is over the wall. It's not steal o'clock, or is it? No, it's not. It's going to be FPX who pick up the Baron. Lwx is flashed on. Abel wants to keep it going. On top of Clit, dodges the charm, but Care helps him out. And xiaolaohu breaks down the base. FPX, it's a game of margins.
And this is why we've been saying for xiaolaohu, like, my God, this guy's insane. It's sad he doesn't get a lot of resources put to him from the side of FPX because we've seen him able to outplay. We've seen him able to push his own advantage forward. And now with Baron, with Death Timers on OMG, it's an inhibitor.
Oh, it is. He teleported back in for this, so it's well-deserved. xiaolaohu, this clutch top laner, who was 1-4, even 0-4 at one point. I don't know what to say more than this is such a
he must find the accelerated shock blast here. Huge damage comes through, instantly follows forward with the To the Skies, and I mean, the combo's just there. Really nice by him playing that one patiently. You know, Creme not knowing he was there to be able to avoid that damage. And then here's the one I'm completely shocked at. Just goes in, finds the To the Skies, knocks him back, like I said, and just the damage coming through from the accelerated shock blast. I mean, at this point, right, huge eclipse, Serelda's Grudge already being built, the Hexstringer to survive the damage.
Did a lot,
And on this front of the fight, I think this came down really close since FPX once again didn't want to commit to the turn. They wanted to commit to the Baron. Instead, they could just kill over first, then commit to the Baron. But oh well, what do I know?
What's fighting today? I mean, 33 kills in 27 minutes. We do it again. Look at the ult in the back line. FPX bring it back. It's a bouncy castle. And unfortunately for OMG, it feels like they're in the corner. They're that kid that's been knocked around, bullied out. They're crying for their mother. Let me out.
And now I thought that was going to keep going, but FPX now going to go for the game-winning push. Like we said, for FPX, if they can win this series, it might not guarantee them playoffs, but they will feel extremely comfortable.
But it feels like it would at least put OMG in a must-win position. At least game one shows the power of FPX. A well-deserved win when it's all on the line at the end of the season. FPX up 1-0. Take us to a strong game two.
Yeah, that was That was incredible coming out from FPX. You highlighted Clid quite a lot. Clid having an exceptional early game, reading it quite well. Again, the cheeky play up in topside. He sees that Aki isn't able to make the gank work, waits to be able to wrap around, finds the kills, translating that all around the map to bot side. And I feel like for a large part of the game, FPX were kind of winning everywhere on the map until OMG started to realize, hey, let's just keep punishing up in the top side with Shanji. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter. We saw, like you said, 0-4 Jayce at one point, able to start turning around because he was getting so much global gold, because he was able to farm freely once we got into the mid game. Started leading everyone.
And I mean, coming back to the early game, before we even talk about xiaolaohu, I mean, Clid's performance this game is MVP worthy.
Yeah.
I think Care had a great role in it as well. But Clid through topside, transitioning right to mid with that gang, then to bot. He was everywhere he needed to be, which is a bit of a cop-out, but truly feels like this jungler deserves to be called the man of many lanes in this game number 1.
Yeah, Clid doing so much work. Again, he covered everywhere on the map. He played towards topside. He enabled bot. He was roaming with Care from mid, like we saw, down to side lanes, down to play around his bottom lane. And it was just great to see him pretty much out-jungling Aki this time around. On the opposing side for OMG, again, we've kind of known them as a little bit of a one-hit wonder in terms of Creme typically having to be the one to step up. Abel sometimes has been able to fill that role. That's what we say is a bit of like an X-Factor, a wild card, can pop off, can be a detriment. And then Shanji, I feel like Shanji has shown that he can be a really pivotal team fighter. Hasn't shown too much in laning phase. Did have a good laning phase this time around, but for OMG, the fact that they were never able to bring together the combo that we wanted to see, the Raz Habanero, as you know, again, I expect all other regions to call it. It is a bit disappointing. By the time they started finding those fights, they're already 5k gold behind. We needed to see those earlier on, specifically the one in front of Rift Herald, where they all just split apart, gave openings to FPX, and it feels like that's really where the game just fell apart.
Yeah, and it's a shame because for OMG, like, we have some star up-and-comers, like Creme as well, didn't have the greatest game on the Vex, despite the flashy play behind mid-tier 1 turret. But, you know, Shanji as well having a good opening split and then veering off a little bit. There's been moving parts of OMG that haven't quite come together. In Game 1, we saw that, especially getting deleted by Clid on his Hecarim. As we go to a short break, keep in mind that FPX are one step away from putting themselves in the perfect position